I know.
I guess you can hear us, Bianca?
No, my son, thank you. You know my son.
Yeah, I
A through D.
I get 60 bills a day. And you guys are sort of separate. Yeah, that's no, nothing urgent.
Oh, yeah. He just read.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Good evening. Welcome to the February 21st, 2022 regular meeting of the Oakmont Borough Council. Please rise for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Mr. Arnold,
Here.
Ms. Holst,
Here.
Ms. Leonardi,
Here.
Ms. Pagnotta,
Here.
Ms. Ride,
Here.
and I'm sorry, Mr. Brinkley,
Here.
and Borough Council President Osterhout.
Here. Any registers?
We don't have any registered speakers this evening.
Any comments from the public? At this time, we'll hear comments on the agenda and public related items. Please come forward to the podium, clearly state your name and address, and limit your comments to 3 minutes.
It's your turn.
Hi. Seeing that there aren't any, I'll turn it over to you, Scott.
Council, in your agenda are two action items, one action item, one review item. The first action item will be approve the regular meeting minutes from the January 18, 2022 regular meeting.
May I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the regular meeting minutes from January 18th, 2022.
Is there a second? Mr. Brinkley has made a motion to approve the regular meeting minutes from January 18th, 2022. Ms. Pagnotta has seconded. Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? That motion passes.
Thank you. Council, in your packet, you're going to see the minutes in draft form from the February 1st, 2022 meeting. If you take your leisure to note anything this week that needs to be corrected or a little more detail, please provide them to me. Again, work session minutes are not approved formally like this are, but we do eventually do a final version for the record. Under discussion items, Council, I'm going to ask you to table the first action under Shade Tree. The individual who applied for the position and I could not get together to interview. Our schedules didn't line up. We are meeting next week for our work session in March already. And I hope between now and then we'll be able to take action and have that interview completed. Okay. In your packet, Beth Millard did provide the library report. I have not a chance to read it fully, But she's including information in there. And I can't find mine. Yeah,
Very small.
it's very small to read, yeah, we're trying to make it bigger.
Is this the whole report?
My understanding it is, yes,
And this is based on 2020?
correct, yes.
Okay. Is this part of her submission to the county? Is that what this is?
She didn't tell me the letter, it just showed up.
Okay.
I'm presuming it
I think
is.
that's what it is.
I'm presuming that's a report that she has to submit.
Okay.
While we're still on the library subject, we did meet, myself, Shane Michael, with the consultant engineering firm HF Lens to do the control design system drawings. The drawings are 50% complete. The specifications are around 50 to 60% complete. In this meeting was to finalize some of the details, and I dragged Kate in the conversation so that we can have some construction documents and drawings prepared for the end of February, which is next week or mid-March. These drawings will be used by the Beth at the library to submit for a Keystone grant for building improvements, which is a grant that's supplied by the Commonwealth for physical improvements to libraries. At this meeting, Mr. Lentz also brought in another consultant who does installations to tighten up the estimate that he provided in that review back in August or September. If you recall, it's a six-figure number. That was his estimation based on the information he had at that time. This entity, at no charge to us, came into the review. He's not expecting anything out of the review he did for Mr. Lentz, the company. But in the world of bidding processes, his sharpened pencil's a little bit better because he's seen it once already.
Has the control system cost come down any?
I'll tell you when he comes back with the specifications. That was the intent. The intent was what they want to do in the availability. There'll be a moderate fine savings because the system no longer needs to be run by its own separate computer system. It can run from any desktop unit, so even Beth can control from her desk and not have to climb up the stairs. So there's a savings. The other savings is they did a review of the existing wiring in the building and using the existing low voltage wiring that controls the dampers and the flows without the weather and all that. So that's going to be another, they're looking to see what was still salvageable from the existing system to make it work better.
When's the grant awarded?
The grants are not awarded until the third or fourth quarter of this year. The applications are due around the second quarter of this year. So anytime between April and May, I think, is her deadline to get it submitted. With 100% for specifications and drawings, that gives us a little better lead. Yes. And that's all we have under the boards and commissions board at this moment, since they spent everything last month. Kate, solicitor's report?
Thank you. I would just mention I've been working with Phyllis to get your sick leave policy in good shape, and we did update it. There is now a county ordinance in place that requires all county employers with 26 or more employees to provide a certain level of sick leave for all full-time and part-time employees. So we just made sure that that was covered as well. And that is all I have.
Can I just ask what's different from what was on our desk tonight and what was in our packets? Do we know?
For the sick leave policy,
Yeah, did it change?
yeah, the wording changed in regards to policy section A. It's changed around regarding the employee handbook. It's not up to 10 days. It's 10 days for all full-time employees. And also the wording changed around a little bit for part-time employees.
Okay.
I have a question for Kate.
Sure.
Is there any progress on the railroad bed? Now, who owns it? How we get a hold of it?
Not at this time. I'll be working with our, I was just brought that up with Scott, that I want to work with our, since we have a new engineer, to get moving on that.
Thank you, Kate. Anything else? Kate and I'll have at least one topic after the regular meeting for executive session about personnel matter. Nothing dramatic, just information. In your packet under correspondences, the first one is from the Lions Club. A sense of normalcy is coming back to the borough. The annual Antique Classic Car Show is being presented by the Lions Club on Father's Day of this year. They traditionally send a letter to council asking permission, and we grant it in some formal and informal manner with a letter back to them so they can plan. The only difference this year is they actually are going to need the services of patrol officer. And I confirmed that with you earlier for scheduling purposes. The agenda's there. They'll be responsible for the advertising, but just let you know that there'll be cars in the park. It's one of the rare times we allow vehicles inside the fence at the park. Your second correspondence is from Alon. We're a banner community again for 2022. It's now 4 years running for us. There's a submission that we supplied back in December with the resolution that we did in January. Again, they ask us a series of questions from simply enough, do you reconcile the bank statements every month, to more details about communications with committees, minutes, action items, ordinances, that sort of thing. So I don't know, the celebration is a little bit different this year. They used to have a separate lunch, an event down at PNC Park. They're going to host the recognition will be in April at the Alon conference up at Seven Springs. I've been asked to actually make a presentation there on digital communications about our text messaging system, and I'd be happy to represent us. If anybody else, you get emails about the Alon conference, do let me know if you have interest in attending, and in some way, shape, or form, I can talk to the office about getting you registered to attend. The next item in the packet of administration is the mock and hop benefits actuarial evaluation reports for both the general employee and the police pension plans. They were completed in the last 2 weeks, and it's the snapshot is for the 1st of January 2021. Dave, I believe, is the best versed at this table to discuss it. I just want to let you know that Gabrielle Slothoff, who put this report together, is more than willing to talk to us. If we did it in this format, probably remotely from our house, to give more details about the plan. This information was filed with the state last week of confirmation, so we're just waiting for the Auditor General to approve it. And we will be compliant with state law that we have to have it filed by April 1st, but also means that we'll get our state aid come the fall, which is put back into the pension funds. Dave, if you want to comment, the plan is doing better with anticipated.
Right. I think we'll hear a little more the work session from the investment counselor. But the good news is that the funded ratio, which is how much, if 100% is the correct amount of money is in the pension at this point, to make sure that the people that will be retiring in the future have what they need. And that number in the last couple of years has grown for the police pension from 80% to almost 90%, which means we're fairly healthy in the pension funds. I mean, typically, it's unusual, I think, to have a fully funded pension. But after we talk to the investment, Mr. Himmerman, he may be able to give us a sense of at what point in time we can expect to be fully funded. Now, the thing to bear in mind when you're looking at these reports is that they're almost a year and a half out of date from the moment we get them. All the pension information tracks behind. It's only done biannually, and it's more of a historical document than the forecasting. The investment individual will actually be looking more forward on that. And anybody who wants to, Scott's mentioned it, when we can sit down with the actuaries to talk about what's going on with these pension plans, I would encourage anybody who's interested to have that conversation with them. And if anybody has any general questions about this process, I'm happy to address them at my leisure.
Is there a scheduled time to meet with the actuaries?
Not at this point, but it'll be during a work day sometimes.
Most likely, that was at her convenience, and they all were working remote from the home, so it would probably be over Zoom. So you wouldn't even have to physically be here either.
So
I just have to get her availability.
can council get a link to the Zoom meeting then?
Absolutely. I would make an announcement if here's when we'd like to meet or you.
If you want to come in for that, John, what we did the last couple of times is the three of us that were here for that would be sitting in this room, looking at the screen. So that way, if we want to consult with each other while we're doing it, it's an educational thing. I think the entire council could be there if they needed to.
If you can swing a work session, I tried it. I think we'd have less viewers than we have now on YouTube after a while, but that's okay. It's
It
hard. to
might
listen.
make more sense to do it during a workday. I mean,
And I can record it and then we can share it by email that way as well. We've done that before.
there are two pension plans, obviously. There's the police pension plan, and then there's the municipal workers pension plan, which is everybody else that gets a pension in the borough.
What's the funded ratio on the other plan?
That's actually even better. It's
99.
going into the high 90s, I believe.
It went from 73% to 99.7.
So we are doing very well. I don't know how much of it we can attribute to the change in the investment policies. But, you know, the stock market has done pretty well in the last couple of years. We're seeing the benefit from that since we have a little more of an exposure in equities right now. Like I said, if there is anybody that has any question, I mean, I don't pretend to be an expert on this, but I know about what 75 to 90% of the terms mean anyway. That might form the basis for some informed questions when we sit down with the actuary. So,
I think you're the informed expert in this room.
well,
And if anybody wants to see, just for an example, the police pension contributions are shown in the budget that's on your desk on page 13, in the middle of the page. It's 410,197. And you can see how it's gone up over the years from 192,000 in 2018 to 253,000 in 2022.
well, that's actually that's called the minimum municipal obligation.
Right.
So that basically means the money that the borough has to give in some form to this pension to keep it, you know, healthy. And our goal as representatives of the taxpayers is to fully fund this pension and do it with as little of the borough's tax revenue as possible. So that's part of the reason behind the change in our investment policies and the freedom we've given the people that manage this for us to do it in the most efficient manner to get that return. Plus, we have increased during the course of the last police contract, the employee contribution, which I believe is part of the MMO. So, and that, if you were to look through the police section of this, you will see that it doesn't even pick up the fact that one of our police officers who got hired in early 2021 or 2021, he's not even on there yet. And the money we get from the state to aid the pension is predicated on the number of police officers, and they get what's called 2 units of pay, which comes from the foreign casualty insurance that the state uses to fund these pensions. So we will see that number continuing to grow, plus the police are contributing more on a percentage basis than they were before as part of the contract settlement. And that is, I hope, part of what we're going to hear from Mr. Immerman, that it is going to lower the municipal obligation as time goes by.
Thank you, sir. Item number 4 is an action item for council. It's going to be adopting resolution number 8 of 2022, working the goals to live well Allegheny.
We have a motion.
Motion to approve the proposed resolution 8 of 2022, indicating intent to work with Allegheny County to accomplish the goals of the Live Well Allegheny.
Ms. Pagnotta has made a motion to approve the proposed resolution 8 of 2022, indicating intent to work with Allegheny County to accomplish the goals of Live Well Allegheny. Is there a second?
I will second that.
Ms. Holst is second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion passes.
Thank you, council. Your next item for your consideration, number 5, is a motion to adopt sick leave policy for inclusion into our borough policy manual and our employee handbook. do we need a motion before we can discuss the details?
Yep, I would make a motion to adopt the sick leave policy for inclusion in the Oakmont Borough policy binder and the Oakmont Borough employee handbook. Obviously, thanking Kate for finding the Allegheny County stuff and everything, but I would make that motion.
Ms. Holst has made the motion to adopt sick leave policy for inclusion in the Oakmont Borough policy binder and Oakmont Borough employee handbook. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Ms. Leonardi is second. Any discussion?
The only thing I have is I just hope we'll kind of keep in mind maternity leave and how we're going to handle that and whether it needs to be something that will be added here.
Yeah, definitely.
You want to adopt this as is or you want to wait?
No, I'm happy to adopt it, but I just don't want us to lose that issue.
Yeah. I agree. Thank you.
Any other discussion? And we need to review that for the police contract too. Maternity.
Right.
That's a separate, yeah.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? That motion passes.
Council,
Number 6.
thank you so much. I lost my I was just focusing here. Council, on your agenda is a motion to approve the award the Crystal Drive drainage swale remediation contract.
I'll make a motion to award Crystal Drive drainage swale remediation contract to Protocol LLC in the amount of $234,950.46.
Mr. Arnold has made a motion to award the Crystal Drive drainage swale remediation contract to Protocol LLC in the amount of $234,950.46. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Mr. Brinkley has seconded. Any discussion?
This is phase one of several phases in the Commons neighborhood area to abate the number of opportunities for flooding to occur in the neighborhood. This project specifically addresses water runoff coming off the hillside behind the Commons on Commons Drive and containing it in the property that we've received easements for and then slowly discharging it back into Plum Creek. The contractor knows, and this also includes backflow preventers on the 2 or 3 discharge pipes out into Plum Creek so that the water doesn't surge back up through it. There was a 6 or 8 week lead on those, and we authorized him when make the order so we can get them in time.
And the downhill part, are they going to start now or are they?
Well, they can start soon. They're finishing up the College Wall project, and they have not left the borough yet, so they're still here.
Any other discussion or questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? That motion passes.
Thank you, council. We're now under community planning. This is the action item to approve the 2022 comprehensive plan.
May I have a motion?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the 2022 Oakmont Borough updated comprehensive plan.
Mr. Brinkley has made a motion to approve the 2022 Oakmont Borough updated comprehensive plan. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Ms. Wright has seconded. Any discussion?
We literally have nothing left to discuss.
Except for the thank you that it's in. All those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? That motion passes.
We joke, but we do want to thank Kristen Gass specifically and the members of the planning commission who've been working on this project since the fall of 2020 with our consulting firm, Environmental Planning and Design, we call them EPD. This is their second go around with the borough in updating the existing plan. As Christian said many times, many meetings with the civic groups that are in the borough to get input. Now it's time to take it and go forward with the project. Thank you. Under finance, Nancy.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the warrant list for January 2022 in the amount of $405,064.72.
Ms. Wright has made a motion to approve the warrant list for January 2022 in the amount of $405,064.72. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Mr. Brinkley has seconded. Any discussion?
Just one question on the sewer fund. When will that start to reflect the increased rates for the wastewater treatment plant?
We can ask that question attached in the work session, and ask them to attend. They're still finalizing plans, we'll know that. I do want to offer, this is our new finance person's crack at the warrant list. He wanted me to explicitly let you know that in the general fund, in some of the funds you see green numbers versus black numbers, that is just internal for his work, so he knows he's cleared something, that's all. There's nothing special about those checks. But just wanted you to see that something different that Renee used to provide, just want to know why, that's all. Other things.
We have to approve.
We have to approve it,
Yes. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? That motion passes.
And I just want to add that Brian's been with us now for 2 weeks, 3 weeks. And he's making good progress from everything, both Scott and he's saying he's like, wow, there's a lot of numbers. He's and you know how anybody that does something has their own quirks on how they organize and how they think, and so he's learning the inside of Renee's, our old accountant's head, as he's doing this. And we are now advertising for a bookkeeper.
So you do see that you see the balance sheets and yearly budget reports. We'll get better. Well, it'll be tough for the work session because literally the end of the month is the day before, so it's gonna be hard to reconcile 24 hours, but we'll get something to you as soon as we can. Thank you. Under public safety, Madam Mayor.
Last month, Oakmont citizen came into the borough office and asked if the mayor could perform a ceremony of marriage. So beginning to investigate that with the help of the solicitor. It is under the borough code that a mayor is able to perform a marriage. Prior to performing these ceremonies, the mayor shall notify council in writing of the mayor's intention to perform marriage ceremonies. So please accept my email as the notice in writing. And then also verbally tonight, notification to council that the mayor will perform wedding ceremonies as requested and will continue as for the term of the mayor unless it's rescinded. In addition, the mayor, there can be a charge of up to $150. There can be a monetary fee. If it is performed, if it is charged $150, the mayor will notify council in writing and then report any fees received to council. If no fee is charged, then there is no notification. It has to be done in writing. They haven't come back with a specific date yet. So talking to the prior mayor, he had performed 3 during his term. And the vows were created together, or he wrote, and nothing was script. So I guess we can just work on that as it comes. Okay, next, police report, I'll defer to Chief Ward.
Yeah, I submitted the police report, and I apologize for the late. I walked out without trying to get in on Friday. If there's any questions, I'll be happy to answer them. The mayor did bring up to me, you want to educate anybody that comes up to you because you may get the same complaints. If you notice, there's a very large increase in some of the parking tickets, and that's generally due to the bad weather, where people don't think they need to move the car, and the whole point for the sweeper route is for sweeping and plowing so the road crew can hit the curb lanes for the parking. So, but that is one reason our sweeper tags are very weather dependent. Just on a side note, Sergeant Turpin just finished his first of 3 of the Penn State Executive Series for first line supervisors. As the schools become available, I will send them more and more to progressive school.
Very good.
That's all I have.
Fire reports.
He submitted a thing, no, nothing to do.
Motion.
Yeah, this is back on me, sorry. Council, in your packet, as suggested, excuse me, I'm sorry, it's my birthday. People are just annoying me. That's people not realizing I'm at work. I'm sorry. Lost my train of thought here. Yes, in your packet is a draft. It's not in the format that we're used to, but it was suggested by Lendisman Solar, the engineering firm for the borough. There is grant funding available for building additions to fire departments, and this is what Lendisman suggested. So they need a concurrence resolution, which this would be, that says we would be committed to doing the grant would be awarded. We just need council to take action on this. It would be resolution number 9 of 2022.
How did you, do we have something that indicates it's like 100,000? I mean, usually with a grant, you have to have.
He ballparked that idea. I think it's really high ballpark, to be honest with you,
Yeah.
but that's okay.
We still don't have an estimate from the architect.
We don't have an estimate from the architect, but we were looking at a budget that was not near 100,000, so we'd have to push.
So what do they attach to the grant application to show the cost?
We just do a spreadsheet and then calculate information. If we have drawings, we'll provide it also.
So are we submitting this, or because the fire department was gonna handle this cost, are they putting the grant application together?
We can help them do that. We were just submitting it to see. It was an opportunity for funding, and if they get lucky enough that they can supply the money that way, that's fine.
And doesn't it have to be from us since we own the building?
Yeah.
With the municipality, yeah, municipality, we still have to do the application before you, but it's an avenue for them not to spend free money.
Okay, am I understanding this correctly, that it has to be at least $100,000 to qualify for this? Or is it
That's what
something?
I'm kind of trying.
Yeah, I mean,
to-
if we have a $50,000 cost, does that mean we could?
We could be under, we could be, we just can't exceed $100,000.
Oh, okay.
And when do we have a match? Do you know?
He didn't, let us indicate there was no match at all.
All right, yeah. So we're.
Number 9 of
2022.
2022. Yeah.
David, did you know?
Okay, I'd like to make a motion for resolution number 9 of 2022 to approve statewide local share assessment grant in the amount of $100,000 from the Commonwealth Financing Authority for the fire department addition improvements.
Mr. Brankley has made a motion to approve resolution
Mhm.
9 of 2022 statewide local share assessment grant in the amount of $100,000 from the Commonwealth Financing Authority for the fire department addition improvements. Is there a second?
Second.
Ms. Pagnata has seconded. Any discussion? Or I mean, we kind of answered questions of one.
We already did, yeah, it's okay.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you, council. Under Public Works, engineers report, obviously they don't attend this evening's meeting, but due to timing, the firm provided us with their estimated probable cost or preliminary opinion of probable cost for the 2022 road program. We did give them the amount of $350,000 as an estimate to use for budgeting purposes. Based on the road segments that we gave him from our multi-year plan, these roads were all within that range of being done. If not this year, next year, so we would clump them together. Their estimated number is included in the letter.
It is.
Yes, it is. It's just hard to read.
Where is it?
It's the PDF, it's second page.
The back of it, the little graph.
Yes, the chart, yes.
Mine, just when it printed out, I can't.
They're estimating it high being 376,000, 76. That was based, they put a high end on everything like the former borough engineer did too. But that's the opinion. That's a typically, for clients, this is new to us. Typically we just say we have a budget of 350, make it work. This is, they're saying, here's what it actually is going to cost, but they're using the high estimates to do that.
So, did they look on one of those, the cost for us to record?
Where?
In the comments.
It's in the comments. I remember when you came down and looked at it, you had some comments that it may require more than paving, if there was a potential drainage problem there as well.
Some base repair. They include base repair in everything. A certain percentage of all roads get a certain amount. And that's part of their estimates in that template, yes. And we did confirm that the borough does own the entire right of way, including the parking stalls in the center, so it just makes sense to do everything one paved project. Yep.
Yeah, what do you want?
I didn't say that.
Yeah, could we ask them to look at our brick roads? I know when we hired them, that was one of the things that was very appealing to some of us, is that they have some expertise in these brick roads.
That's part of the onboarding, we gave them so much. I said, let's get the paving program out, because we were aiming for this quarter. Now we can take a pause and say, okay, let's look at our bricks.
Okay.
Absolutely. But they know about it.
You want to look at bricks beyond the boulevards?
Yes,
Or just the
yes,
boulevards?
no,
Beyond.
I'm talking about like, the one that I notice all the time because I drive all the time is Sixth Street.
Yeah.
And from
That one's
From Maryland to
doozy.
Pennsylvania is in bad
There-
shape.
There's two approaches I would go with Lance and Solar. One is looking at Alexander Boulevard from curb to curb in segments, but also a way we can do identify miscellaneous base, what I would call base failure repairs, or go to the specific spots and fix
Yeah,
repairs.
fix just.
And identify them and put them out as a bid package, yes.
Yeah.
On roads beyond the boulevards where they're going to repair bricks, do you want to just repair the brickwork, or do you want to replace it with a more usable paving system?
I mean, asphalt?
Yeah.
That's a philosophical paradigm that everyone has to go in agreement with.
Yeah, I mean, I personally think these roads have been there for 100 years and
For the most part, haven't moved.
and for the
except
most part are in decent shape.
Yeah.
And the asphalt roads, the other thing, there were two things I had. I'll segue in the other thing, is that also as this year goes on, and I know this isn't first priority, but to look at the curbing on some of the roads where the curb has disappeared almost.
It's the reveal.
And on the brick roads, there's still there's always a good curb because it never gets raised. But like Fifth Street here, there's almost no curb anymore. And some of these areas, then the water doesn't go to the right place. So just to put on there in the future.
When I showed them, but when we had our onboarding meeting, I talked about bricks, I talked about curb. I said, this is what this curb repair means. And the unfortunate reality is a lot of the roads that have very low curb reveal, meaning that's why the water spills over. It's the curb, actually, it's a rounded curb, but it actually goes underneath the roadway. So we'd have to come up with a saw cutting it to fix elevation. So that's,
Yeah.
we got the big stuff out of the way. Now we're going to go back and look at these fine tuned things.
Because it does make a difference.
Is that a problem? Because a lot of times when they lay down new asphalt, they don't build the road. So it does.
I can assure you, at least if not the last, since I've been here, but I think the two paving programs before I got here from Amber and Senate was, they were milling back down to the original brick surface to keep that same elevation that you got beforehand. So we were cognizant that we were losing reveal for that purpose of keeping the reveal as much as we could, yes.
But some of the, probably like Fifth Street is such a well-traveled road. You know, that may be one reason that it's in worse shape is that it may have been paved more times and,
Very much possible.
you know, as far as curbing. I don't mean the road base seems fine, but I'm just on the curb.
Yeah. This one, I know they took it to brick. When they did it in front from here, from at least Holton through here, they did it all the way down to the brick, you could see it. Then they put a matting down so that it's reflective cracking doesn't come up through the asphalt, what they do. Okay.
Okay, those are my two requests.
So there's a pre-bid meeting for the paving contractors who have the bid packets this week here at the building, and bids will be coming in shortly thereafter. We'll have a public opening then, and I think he's opening, well, he won't have it for March 1st, we'll have something after March 1st, the bid results.
Can I ask one more thing about roads? That I know you have a plan, you have like kind of a long-range plan.
Yes, and we update it.
So then, do you just, like, as we fix this year, do you just add a year at the end? Is that?
We
Like,
look at roads that did not make the initial 5-year list and start adding them. We go back to the roads that were paved about 5 to 7 years ago and see if they need to be, updated, refreshed. But that's how the process goes, yes. They're assessed based on the amount of cracking, the type of cracking, is it surface cracking, is it longitudinal, like showing base failure, and then we go from there.
And can I ask about Washington from the boulevard up to Third, something with the water company? What was decided? We thought that was mentioned at a meeting.
The flooding that was down there?
That Second, Third on Washington.
We have to do some more stormwater there first. We have to put stormwater in, which is to get the water from stormwater is just flowing down, ruining the asphalt. We have to collect it up higher in the intersections, put it underground so we don't have much runoff.
Oh, okay.
And
So
that's phased. And I believe if not this year's ARPA money, next time ARPA money is used that to collect the water coming down the hill. That is that California, which is 2 ARPA projects this year. is what we're doing there. So we're finding those really hard to hit areas first.
I already talked about that Washington and Third.
Exactly right. Exactly. So, there's an action for council to take, excuse me, there's an item for action for council to take. I still can't talk tonight. It's a birthday cake.
Yeah.
It's a change order one. It is a $900 increase. There was a repair to the manhole that was necessary because there's a brick stack pipe as opposed to solid concrete. They made the repair. They need to do a change order so it reflects in the final contract amount.
Yeah, make a motion to approve change order number 1, College Avenue sinkhole and retaining wall repair project.
Mr. Arnold has made a motion to approve change order 1, College Avenue sinkhole and retaining wall repair project. Is there a second? Ms. Wright has seconded. Any discussion? When do you think they'll be done with that project?
He indicated they're really close to being done. It's just a matter of they're waiting for the warmer temperatures to put the epoxy on some of the cracks, but they're essentially done.
Wonderful. Seeing no other discussion or questions, all those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? That motion passes.
Thank you, Council. Your next action item is going to be payment number 2 to DeFrank Construction for work in Creekside Park.
Do you have a motion?
Make a motion to approve phase 2 Creekside Park improvements, payment number 2 to DeFrank Development Inc. in the amount of $18,400.50.
Mr. Arnold has made a motion to approve phase 2 Creekside Park improvements, payment number 2 to DeFrank Development Incorporated in the amount of $18,400.50. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Brinkley has seconded. Any discussion? This is the payment for the,
The second, the parking lot area, yes.
any no other questions or discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? That motion passes.
Thank you, Council. Item number 4 sort of surprised us all. We forgot about this at the end of the year. It's for the COG in order to award a contract to the lowest bidder, which is in your packet, to do more ADA sidewalk compliant work in the borough. Go ahead.
I'll make a motion to award the AVN COG proposal for ADA sidewalk ramps project in the amount of $22,500.
Mr. Arnold has made a motion to award ABN COG proposal for ADA sidewalk ramps project in the amount of $22,500. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Brinkley has seconded. Any discussion or questions?
Meeting is sneaking up on us. This is if you look up at the subject line, it's called CD 47 in the bid packet. We typically bid on even years, so it'd be 46, 48, 50, 52. The COG apparently had a bidder or a municipality that backed away from their project, so we had money sitting there that did not require to do income surveys. And the director knows that we do ADA work, so he said, come on and bid. So we literally put this together in September and October. These sidewalk improvements are focused along the Maryland Avenue corridor. I think about 6th Street or 7th Street around there, where some that are non-existent. So that's what this project's going to do.
So this is the same, I noticed this is the same amount that we asked for this coming 2022.
It could be. He told me this is the one we didn't act on. We didn't award it. So this one was already awarded. He can't award it until we actually send him a letter saying that we approved on it. The last one was 18.5, and that's the Holton Road project. There's like 3 or 4 sidewalks left up there.
Because this is one of the few, this time around, one of the few CDBG grants that were approved. For some reason, they rejected a whole bunch of grants.
You're
So I get applied to.
You're absolutely right. Yep. So,
Just like us. I mean,
we're spending the money. We're doing it with
Just
this.
like some.
Exactly. We have a proven record of using it for something that's applicable and worthwhile, and we do it. Yep, that's why they call us. Most first.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? That motion passes.
Under Plum Peak updates, obviously, we took the only action item we have right now, which is the first phase of Commons, and we already discussed about working with Lennon Smith on the quick claims and the easement. So that's all I have for that. Under G, capital improvement project, Hatch did the online application to DEP for them to review all of our projects in the sewer treatment facility. DEP acknowledged receipt of it. This is all positive. I'm just catching my breath. Typically, they do what's called a pre-application meeting, meaning DEP will come in, sit down and say, okay, as we said in that meeting, here's what we want to do. How do we apply for permits to get the state to say what we're doing, the plant's kosher? They are opting to have this online. Hatch is working with DEP to find an applicable date and time to have the meeting online. Yes, I'll let interested council members know when it happens. In the interim, they're going to finalize the drawings, they meaning Hatch, to finalize drawings for the pump station and make sure they're bid ready and seek authorization from us to do advertisements for bidding. That is outside the scope of what they submitted. That's outside the scope of the treatment plant for permitting requirements, so they can move along with that project and get that one started. That's all I have on the wastewater treatment plant for now. Joe Rakowski will be here on March 1st. We have placed an invitation to Hatch. We'll remind them about making an invitation and making attendance there too, even if it's remote. Okay.
Is there still any separation between the order in which Rakowski wants to do these projects and Hatch, or are they all on board with the same?
They're all going the same thing. It's ultimately going to go with DEP and say, what do you suggest? Because they have a global Commonwealth-wide view shed. I believe the EQ tank, should it be necessary, still dead last. But I think that the focus is going to be on the one clarifier with the ultraviolet, the UV clarification at the same time. I think that's going to be the same project. I think that's going to be the first project.
Does Hatch have a power study and a power estimate for
Mine is-
UV disinfection yet?
I've been saving emails as PDFs. I'll send you what I have to council. I believe that they've started to get all the information they need about what they need for power, but also from the entities that they were asking information from. So I'll double check. I've been saving them separately for quick references in meetings and such. So I'll make sure we have them all.
Thank you.
Yeah. There's like 2 emails. That's all it was. So it's all it's only 2 emails. So. Madam President, that's all I have.
At this time, we'll have council remarks. Councilmember Pagnata.
Just wishing our borough manager a happy birthday.
Councilmember Leonardi.
None.
Councilmember Holst.
No, I ditto that. Happy birthday, Scott. I wish we would have known that.
Councilmember Brinkley.
Nothing.
Councilmember Arnold.
I just wanted to make sure everyone got the email I sent out concerning the proposed ordinance on coal tar and sealants that will take place. You know, the proposal will occur at the March 1st meeting. I want to make sure that all the members actually got.
I think we covered everybody. That's what they did. Yes. The challenge, I believe, just a reminder, is interactions with emails. Assume they got it, but there's no interaction. We don't even want interaction to say, yes, I got it. Thank you. Just at minimum, yes.
Vice President, Ms. Wright.
I would just like to point out that it's only 10 of 8. And it's a very efficient meeting.
I just had a question, Scott. At
Yes.
our last meeting, Joanne had mentioned about a letter going to the chamber about the banners. I was wondering if that went out.
She did get it to me. I believe we sent it on. If we didn't, I will right away. It was a well-written letter. It was, I can't remember. We did so many letters in the last couple of weeks. Of course, it's something to double check. But I do have it, yes.
And I guess actually I asked 2 questions. I'm sorry. The other thing I wanted to follow up on, which might be you, Kate, all the trees at that home development site that kind of got whacked.
Yeah, I did. I don't know. We were gonna talk to the engineer about getting.
That's a Lemon Smith update. They've been on the site. We're having a pre-construction meeting this week with them here, the developer site and site. It's Cozen that do work. And then we're going to go up to the site afterwards. Rest assured that if they did go beyond their bounds of tree cutting, there's a remedy in the zoning ordinance for them to either mitigate back on site with trees or it's financial. And they did provide us with a as is site condition, existing site conditions map, so we can identify the trees that were there.
On that site, is LSSE on board with the revised stormwater plan?
They are, after reviewing Senate's review of it as well, yes. It's the design is not different, it's the components within the design that changed because of availability. Instead of, I think they're doing arches instead of cylindrical types of system. But it still helps, it's for the tanks, it's still in the back of the property that's gonna drain down the Wade line or Woodland Avenue, so you won't see any of this. It's all underground, and you want a Chevy, you want a Ford, and they decided to do a Chevy, but they can't buy the parts they're doing with a Ford. So it's retention, it's slow, how slow it's released, and the volume of the plant, of the capacity of it itself. Senate was okay with it when we onboarded land for solar, and they're just double checking, but Sean didn't come with arms flailing like, oh, this is horrible. I'm still finding challenges that they'll get the highway occupancy permit, they being the developer, because of the rain garden that sits along the roadway with a discharge that goes to nowhere right now. And we may be addressing that on Thursday.
That they have to get from them.
The highway, to get their highway occupancy permit for a roadway coming out to Holton Road, they need PennDOT to review everything, including stormwater discharge. That rain garden, should it function, will be fine. Should it not function, have overflow, it's discharging on the Holton Road. Not good in December. Not good until March if we're lucky. So that was something, even if our Senate engineering really had a question mark about as well. If you get a permit from the state, good luck to you. So there may be some mitigation they may have to do, running a pipe down to a catch basin, which would be Wade Lane is the closest catch basin, which is down around the bend.
Maybe you want to encourage them to
We'll see what
plan
happens.
on doing that.
Do you know with the trees, if they did take too many down, do we make the choice on whether they replace or whether they pay? And if they pay us, then are we able to have Brian go out and pick?
Yes or yes. Yes, they can make a decision to mitigate on site. They have to say that in writing. Do you have to give an as-built? There's already an existing landscaping plan, but that does deviate because after you place a house and yards where the stuff goes. So there's at least a quantity of tree canopy they have to replace. The second question is they could throw money at it and say, here you go, and put them somewhere else in the borough. That's what we did.
That was my,
Somewhere else in the borough.
I mean, can we put it there?
You can certainly try to put it back here if there's room, but there may not be room. That's why they may say, here's money, go deal with it. That's what they did with the first mitigation when they did the first tree clearing was $35,000-$40,000 somewhere around there. And they retained $20,000 to do on-site mitigation based on what they had to take away. Gave the borough $30,000 or $35,000 to use it themselves. Remember that? You're looking at me like I'm speaking for them.
No, because I think that, I was just thinking there's a dual component of removal of trees and, what they agree to and then fine. But then there's also within their plan, I think there's trees that are going on. So there will be more trees than there are now. And possibly trees elsewhere. in the borough,
More
because-
now.
Yes,
because-
right, exactly. So there is that requirement. So they do have to do some of that there, but if they've cut down more than they're supposed to.
I just wondered if we had control to make sure that there were more trees put in that development
There will be,
by someone,
right,
by us or by them.
But they did have to tap into Wade Lane to deal with the stormwater. Is that something that would go underneath the sidewalks, or would that be in the borough right away, or?
It might be easier for them to get an easement behind the sidewalk on private property. But not definitely, I do not see PennDOT let them rip up Holton Road to do it, certainly not.
No, I didn't think it would, that's why.
But if they want to remove the sidewalk, put the new sidewalk down, great. If they want to try to go behind the sidewalk, they may only need a 4 to 6 inch diameter pipe to let it discharge. It just needs an overflow is all it needs. But
And we
again,
could go to the storm sewer at Wade Lane.
it's possible. I mean, that's the
That's what
idea.
it was.
That was the idea that Amber first came up with, is put it underground and get it there, but we didn't have the authority to sit there and say, that's what you've got to do. Our authority was, you try to get an HOP from PennDOT with water coming out to the state road. That's all, anymore.
We recommend they do that.
We give them options. We give the developer options and what we can help them achieve. Yes. Okay.
It's
time, we will hear comment on the agenda, public related items from the public. Please come forward to the podium, clearly state your name and limit your comment to 3 minutes. Seeing that there's none, may I have a motion to adjourn to executive session?
I'll make a motion to adjourn to executive session.
Ms. Wright has made a motion to adjourn. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
And the meeting is adjourned.
Give me a moment.
Gee, is that a record?
And for a long meeting.
In theory, I'm